I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 28th regular meeting of the Marquette City Commission. And before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to call attention to, on my right is co-presiding with me tonight is the Honorable Misaku Ogura, Mayor of Higashiomi. And I wish we'd all welcome him. We're honored by his presence, and so we will have a co-presider tonight. Would everyone... Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Your Honor. Commissioner Kimbenzi.
Here.
Commissioner Campana.
Here.
Commissioner Coyne.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioner Ryan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse.
Here.
And Mayor Nemi.
Here. Commissioners, Commissioner Reynolds called in. She's ill this evening. What is your pleasure regarding her absence? Commissioner Ryan?
I move Commissioner Reynolds be excused from tonight's meeting.
Okay, is there Commissioner Coyne? It's been moved by Commissioner Ryan, seconded by Commissioner Coyne to excuse the absence of Commissioner Reynolds. All in favor say yes.
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 Anyone opposed say no. The motion is passed unanimously. The next item is approval of the agenda or note of agenda changes. Are there any commissioners that desire to change the agenda? Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Commissioner Cambenzi?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Campana?
I second that.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Cambenzi, seconded by Commissioner Campana to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say yes.
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 Anyone opposed say no. The motion is approved unanimously. Announcements. We have a number of boards and committee openings yet. This doesn't even include our new local development authority, which will be feeding tonight. So that's pretty well filled up. But we have about almost 30 openings on other boards and committees. As I've mentioned before, on the city's website, there's a very easy PDF file that you can fill out an application right on the website, mail it into the city manager's office to apply for boards and commissions. I'd encourage citizens to come forward and volunteer. As I've mentioned before, it's an important part of our city government. The boards and commissions play a very important role. The other announcement I have is Mayor Ogura is joining us tonight, but there are other eight delegates from the city of Higashiomi that you may see around town, so I hope that people will welcome them. We're honored by their presence and honored by their visit. It's part of our Sister City program, so I would hope people would wish them well if they happen to see them in their travels throughout the city. The next item on the agenda is a presentation by the Marquette Area Public Schools Superintendent Bill Saunders on their sinking fund millage. Mr. Saunders?
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. I enjoy every opportunity I get to come out and talk about Marquette Area Public Schools. Before I start, I'd just like to thank you guys for your service, for all that you do for the community of Marquette. Greatly appreciated. I know you guys have a lot on your plate, and I just appreciate carving out a few minutes for me tonight to talk a little bit about Marquette Public Schools. On the ballot, August 5th coming up, we have a sinking fund millage that we have proposed for Marquette Area Public Schools. It's a .95 mil increase over 10 years. The difference between a sinking fund and a bond is that the sinking fund doesn't create any long-term debt that would be a yearly tax collection. I'd like to go into a little bit real quick about the history between what's happened over the last 4 years at Marquette Public Schools. About 4 years ago, we asked the community to support us for a bond. Our facilities are decaying. We have a number of facility issues. We also had some grade realignment issues through the closure of buildings. In the early 2000s, we closed a number of buildings here at Marquette Area Public Schools. What we found through the transfer of kids is we ended up with some shifts in population, and we ended up with some schools like a Superior Hills Elementary School and a Sandy Knoll Elementary School that had too many students. Again, going back 4 years ago, we asked for a bond. The community took a look at that, what we asked for. It wasn't something that was actually doable. So we did a study over the last 4 years to look at the failure of that bond to see how the community might be able to help us moving forward. What was started was a strategic planning process from Marquette Area Public Schools to get more community involvement, more collaboration. Looking at Marquette Public Schools and how the community could really grow in Marquette Public Schools and be a part of that. Through the strategic planning process, we started a strategic planning team, a grade realignment team, and a facilities team. And the first thing we did was survey the public to take a look at their input and how they could help Marquette Area Public Schools. And overwhelmingly, through the number of surveys that we put out, the community said, please use the facilities that you have. Don't build new facilities. Try to make use of the facilities and the space that you have. We took a look at that. We did some grade realignment. We brought Graverette back online as a K-5 elementary school on the east side where we had a high population of students. In doing so, one of the other survey questions that we asked, if we went ahead and we used our buildings, we know we had some decaying buildings, we had some buildings that needed some serious upgrades. The community responded by saying, if you use your buildings, we're more apt to come back and help support you with some of the issues that you face. So I'd like to briefly kind of get into what some of those issues are that we face, and then I have a short video to kind of show and would like to be able to answer any questions that you guys may have of me this evening. A couple of the issues that we face, one is school safety and school security. A couple of years ago, you all remember Sandy Hook, serious national tragedy. Through that process, all schools, not just Marquette Area Public Schools, but all schools are investing heavily in school security. Through the last year, we've invested in redoing the entrances to each of our buildings to make sure they're more safe and more secure. We were able to do Bothwell Middle School, we were able to do Superior Hills Elementary, we were able to do Cherry Creek. The renovations that we need to do for our high school, for Sandy Knoll Elementary School, for Vandenboom, and for Graverette are pretty extensive, more than what we have money to be able to afford to make those schools and keep them up with a school security measure. The other aspect is also safety, and we have some older buildings. Again, Vandenboom, our high school, Graverette, and Sandy Knoll are all pretty old buildings. The fire alarm systems, those types of things in those buildings certainly need to be updated. Another area that we're looking to invest in is modernized technology. Our newest buildings were built in 1993 and 1994. Those were Superior Hills and Cherry Creek. Our newest buildings still came online before the real tech boom, and so they're not equipped with the number of computer cables that we need. They don't have the electricity capabilities for the technology that we need to offer our students today. That's pretty expensive just to put the electricity in our high school alone to meet the needs of today's students, and we're looking to a one-to-one initiative for each of our kids. A computer for every kid is about $500,000 to bring our high school up to electrical code. That same concept applies to each of our buildings. They each need to be brought up electricity. We hope within the next couple of years to have that one-to-one initiative in place K-12 for the entire Marquette area public schools. We'd also like to increase our energy efficiency. Our schools are very inefficient at the moment. Original boiler systems, original lighting units, single pane windows, inefficient doors, things like that. We also have a lot of ADA requirements. We have some federal mandates and we have some state mandates that we have to adhere to bring our buildings up to code. So with that, I have a short video that's going to show some of the pictures and some of the issues that I just talked to you about. and that's the video. I tried to fit a lot in a real short period of time to be cognizant of your time tonight. So, but I wanted to leave time. I know you have a busy meeting tonight. Leave any time to answer any questions that you guys may have of me.
Commissioner Ryan?
As I understand it, this will bring in something over $1 million a year.
It'll bring in about 1.1 on average. We start out, it brings in about 800,000, and as, of course, as property values go up over that 10-year period, it'll bring in about 1.3 at the end, and average about 1.1 overall, about 11 million total.
Okay.
Yep.
What kind of priorities have you set? Obviously, unlike a bond issue where you'd have $11 million to spend, you're going to have to do these expenditures over 10 years.
Absolutely. I got asked the same question the other day. One of the people in the community said, wouldn't the bond be better because you could do all your projects up front? And we understand that. We know that that creates some extra interest and of course, some extra dollars and cents. Our first priority, to answer your question, is still to invest in those security features. We know we have to make our entrances still safer. We know we need security cameras. We need card readers. We really need to make those changes happen up front to prevent any type of catastrophe. So the security would happen first. Then we would start to phase in, especially those energy efficiency things, because over the long haul, those could be a savings for our district, money that we could take and turn around and invest back in our buildings, which what we'd hope to do. And then, again, as we go through there, we have quite an extensive list. We know with the list we have, we're not going to be able to accomplish everything that we would like to, but we're going to be able to get the majority of the things done over the 10-year period.
And just point of emphasis, you're restricted with these funds to doing these kinds of projects. This can't be used for general operations?
Absolutely. We can only do these projects. It can't do anything for our general fund. The one thing that I will say is that it does give us a little bit of flexibility if a new higher need priority comes up. For instance, we started that video with the collapse of the wall at the high school. So something like that, you don't plan for those type of catastrophes really to happen. It did happen. So, now we know that we have to get that high school fixed. So when we started this list, this obviously wasn't on the list. So something like that could happen over that 10-year period where we would be able to say we can take care of this when it happens. So one of the other items, might get pushed off the list as we get towards the end.
Anybody else a chance?
Anyone else? Commissioner Ryan?
Nobody else wants a chance. I'm just going to publicly say I support this. I know it's not popular for politicians to support tax increases, but I do. I think unlike the bond issue, where there were a lot of issues, a lot of questions people had, I think you've come up, you and your staff and the board, with creative ways to use the facilities we have, which I think is really important. I think, as you pointed out, that's what people wanted to see. If we're going to keep these facilities, then we've got to keep them up. And one thing I've always tried to be is an advocate for the city of Marquette. And if we're going to be a good city, we have to have a good school system. I think we have that, but we've got to keep the facilities up too. So I just want to endorse this personally, and I hope people will support it.
I appreciate that, and if I could just say, we were very intentional. The strategic planning we had, strategic planning team, about 15 different community members. We were very intentional to make sure that this was something that was going to be affordable, something that was going to strengthen Marquette area public schools over the next 10 years. And not something that was going to be money that could be, played the shell game with and shuffled or done anything else with. This is going to go directly to benefit the facilities and the schools that we have. So I thank you.
I'd like to just commend you, your committee, and your board. I think this is the right way to go, and certainly the infrastructure and the improvements you outlined are needed, and this is a good cost-effective way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, thank you, Superintendent Saunders.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
The next presentation on the agenda is the Downtown Development Authority by Chair Christine Pusola and Executive Director Mona Lang.
And my techno.
Yeah, right. Hardly.
I hope.
There we go.
And then the slides, right?
Down arrow.
Down arrow. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Christine Pasola. I am the chair of the DDA, and I'm happy to give the presentation to you tonight. I know that you all know, but maybe for some of our guests, the purpose of the DDA is it's an authority established according to a public act, 197, to halt property value deterioration, to increase property tax valuation, and to promote economic growth. Our vision is to secure Marquette's downtown as the center of a premier, livable, walkable winter city that provides its residents and visitors with a sense of place. Our mission statement is kind of long. We were just talking about that tonight, but the Marquette Downtown Development Authority is committed to preserving and strengthening the downtown district by creating a positive atmosphere for owners, businesses, investors, patrons, visitors, and employees, and is dedicated to preserving our historic architecture through planning and implementation of projects which inspire private and public investment. I sit as the chair. Mana Lang is our director, and you can read through the list of names. We have people serving from the 3rd Street District. There's actually 3 of us that own properties on 3rd Street, and as most of you know, 3rd Street became part of the DDA district 2 years ago. So we feel like we have a pretty good mix there. So our fundamental goals is to increase property values. We create and maintain a favorable business and investment environment. We ensure the sustainability of the district, and we support downtown property owners, businesses, professionals, as well as residents. We love our residents that live in the downtown. We love our residents that live all over the city, actually. So the nuts and bolts of it, we get funding. Most of our funding comes from parking rentals, parking meters, and from the TIF. Also to note that properties that are in our original historic district, as well as the 3rd Street District, pay an additional 2 mil tax. So that is all part of the revenue that we use. We have commons rentals, that's minor. We have farmers market fees. There's some other miscellaneous revenues, some grant monies. I will say that Mana Lang, our director, is very aggressive and, what would we say, proficient at getting grants for the DDA to do various projects. So our total budget is $946,000 approximately. And if we want to look at the breakdown of how our monies are spent, we have maintenance and parking. We do the snow shoveling, we shovel the sidewalks, and of course you have to put the black stuff on them, you have to do striping. There's always something breaking down. We have our capital outlay is our largest expenditure. We do all kinds of infrastructure projects. We've done big projects on repairing the Bluff Street ramp. We have elevator towers to keep up, retaining walls to fix, the bricks and mortar kind of thing. Over the last few years, we have added a line item to our budget, which is promotion and events. We have found that all the events that we do in our downtown have been favorable to not only the residents, but certainly the businesses in the downtown area. And we've had some success with that. We also have our debt service at $156,000, that is. So you can see by the slide, the original district is the larger purple area, and then we have the area going down or up 3rd Street, however you want to look at it. The original downtown had 259 parcels at a taxable value of a little over 43 million. By adding 3rd Street, we added another 61 parcels with a taxable value of 9.2 approximately. So we have a total taxable value of little over $52 million. If you look at this slide, shows how the businesses break up. So it looks like retail at 27%, and then both medical, dental, personal services, and professional services at 15%. We have some dance studios, health and fitness clubs. We have some churches and nonprofits, and we have 11% with food and beverage, and we have banks and financial. So we have a big gamut of businesses in our downtown, which total 408, approximately 2,800 employees, which is pretty exciting, especially for all the businesses that revolve around all those employees. We have less than 2% vacancy rate, and this is just a list of some of the new and expanded businesses. I know that we've sent you this presentation so you guys can take a glance at it at your leisure. Let's see, staffing. This is interesting. I've sat on the DDA in various forms for a few years, and when I first started, it was basically Mana, the director, and we had a chief engineer and a part-time helper. Now we have our executive director, we have an assistant director, we have hired an events and promotions coordinator. We also have a part-time promotions assistant. We have a full-time maintenance coordinator, 6 part-time maintenance staff. Our farmers market manager is about a 2/3 FTE, and then we have a farmers market cashier who's part-time. So the DDA has grown, but I think with all the events and promotional things and some of the maintenance issues that the DDA has taken on, we've certainly warranted hiring the extra staff. We've got a great staff. These are just some of the projects. These are just slides of things that we take care of on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes people don't really know, well, how do the street lights get painted? How do the fire hydrants get painted or the sidewalks get swept? That would be the DDA. Landscaping and flowers, we're actually very proud of the way our downtown looks. 280 flower baskets every summer. And the guys go around, you see them early in the morning with their water trucks watering. So trying to keep it looking good. We also, a couple years ago, we did a bike project. So we as a business you could buy a bike, or the DDA bought a certain amount of bikes. And so you'll see the blue bikes strategically placed throughout the downtown. We purchase benches, trash cans. We do the wreaths and Christmas lighting for the holidays. Some of our events and promotions that I'd like to highlight, certainly the farmers market. I would say, again, when I started on the DDA board, it was a black truck with a couple of cucumbers in the back of it on the corner of 3rd and Washington. And so we, it was part of our strategic plan years and years ago to do the commons and really grow that market. And from sitting and talking with other business owners, it certainly made a big addition to our downtown. And actually we had a market assessment done by the Michigan Farmers Market Association, and their thought was that our farmers market probably pumps an extra $250,000 into our local downtown community, so that's not insignificant. Blueberry Festival. I don't know how many of you got downtown this weekend. Blueberry Festival always kicks off Art on the Rocks weekend. Highly successful. The DDA does help fund some of these events, and then we also look for partners to help offset some of those costs. We're Mona's pretty good at getting sponsors. A lot of the downtown businesses help offset the costs of some of these festivals. We have Music on 3rd Street, which has been a great event for 3rd Street. All the business owners on 3rd are very excited about that. Of course, we have our ball drop. We have Halloween trick-or-treaters. That Halloween has really gotten pretty exciting in the downtown. There's lots of kids. We have the Halloween spectacle, which is, if you haven't been, this year was our second year, and the weather was bad. There was hail, but people stayed because the costuming was so incredible. All the dance studios get together, and they get kids from the community, and it's a spectacle. It's fabulous, and the DDA does help support that. We have our winter snow fun parade and tree lighting. We bring Santa into the downtown. Hockey on 3rd, Ladies' Night. There's the Baraga Harvest Festival. We formed a bunch of the restaurants that are in the downtown district and on 3rd Street formed the East Side Original Restaurant Association. And some of these things, like the Baraga Harvest Festival, is kind of a morph from that. We had a wine and cheese tasting. But what happens with some of these events is we use them as fundraisers, and we've supported the Jansen House, we've supported the Women's Center. What's the other one, Mana? Am I forgetting one? Yeah, anyway, but we try to, when we do raise our funds, we try to keep it in our downtown area. This year we started, it was the first event, it was called the Spring Open. It was an indoor golf tournament, and as you can all remember, even on April 24th, it was pretty cold outside. Nobody was golfing outside. So we brought the golf in, and it was just incredible, very, very fabulous. And with that event, we did donate $2,500 to the Jansen House. And we have our UP 200 and Downtown Showdown Rail Jam. We had Range Bank as a big sponsor of that, but that was, if you didn't get to see it, maybe next year you'll get a chance to check it out. It was pretty cool. Just, more pictures of great events. One of the projects that we're pretty excited about is our East Washington streetscape. We partnered with the city of Marquette. We have colored concrete, stamped concrete, new lighting, new trees. We spent $53,000 on that project. Many of you may have noticed the pedestrian signs in the middle of the street. That was something that was requested by a lot of the businesses. That people were just barreling down the street, and I think that has been a really nice way to get traffic to slow in those areas. This year we are in the middle, kind of at the finishing ends of a commons modification project. We were just getting inundated with people that wanted to be in the market, and we didn't have enough space. And so by taking out some of the bumps and turns and twists, we were able to get more vendors in, and we also enclosed some of that open area, put in air conditioning and heating, so that makes that space a little more user-friendly. Like I said, Mon is fabulous at getting grants. We got the My Place Initiative grant for the Baraga Avenue planning. I did see some of the commissioners there. If you get a chance to look at that plan, it's pretty fantastic. If we could do that, how many years would it take? But it would be pretty fabulous. We have our 3rd Street sustainability planning, and then double up food bucks for the farmers market. So, future planning. We're always doing parking studies, but you always need parking. We have our parking management plan. We do have new meters that will be installed, so that will bump up our revenue a little bit in that area. Again, the Baraga Avenue improvement plan. Originally, we had On the dockets, the curb cuts and some sidewalks on the 200 block of Washington, but the bids came in really double of what we thought they would. So we're going to rebid those in February, and hopefully they'll come in a little bit more realistic. We have the Delph Theater project. The grant has been submitted. That's a fabulous theater project in the downtown. 215 South Front, that is the old Obsessions building that has been purchased, and they're moving forward with the renovation of that building, commercial on the ground floor and then residential on the top floors. We have already begun our 3rd Street on-street parking modifications. I can't remember the exact number. How many did we got quite a few more spots on 3rd Street just by kind of shifting some things around and changing some of the driveways. Our Main Street Tower repair project, you know, you can take a look at some, but the ones that are bolded are some of the highlights. Oh, what do you know? That's it. Questions? Comments?
Well, it's hard to ask a question because you've been so thorough. And,
Oh.
and no, I don't mean it that way. It's very good.
Oh, thank you.
And I think we're all well aware of the studies that have been going on, the Beriga and the parking studies and the other things. So I just want to say something positive, and that is to thank you. You didn't go back to when they pulled the fire engines with horses, did you?
I didn't go back that far,
I mean, you
but-
kept referring to the
Yeah.
fact. No, I'm just kidding. But I know you've been involved for a long time. But I think our DDA is really a model for any community. You know, we've done such outstanding things here. And it's you know, it shows up in the fact as you present, as you mentioned, just about a full occupancy rating. We've got businesses, we've got things doing well, we've got activities, we've got really just so many good things going on. So I appreciate your efforts, and certainly Mana's and all the others who serve on the board, because the downtown really gives Marquette a certain character that other communities don't have, and it's a very positive thing. So
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Campana?
I can remember Marquette back in the 60s when it was booming. Then over the years it kind of went dull and drab, and things were deteriorating downtown. The last 20 years or so it's been coming back, obviously, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with many people, many different funds, but the DDA was very important in doing this. I mean, now the downtown is very vibrant and an exciting place to go, and like Don says, there's businesses in most every building. So they've really done a very good job. They're a real asset to the city of Marquette. I do have a question. I have a friend that lives in a birdhouse. He says that he's paying a 2 mil tax on his property. Is that true? I know you charge it to the,
They are part of the district.
so they.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
all residents or just the birdhouse?
well, I think it's that whole area down there. It's not all residences, but like, say, a building that has commercial downstairs and apartments upstairs. Well, your taxes reflect that if you are in the district.
Okay.
And, as a property owner in the downtown, a pretty fairly large taxpayer, to tell you the truth, I don't mind paying it. And yes, I am the chair of the organization, so I love the DDA, but I love the work that the DDA does. I really believe in it. And I think that I don't think we would have been successful getting 3rd Street to join if they didn't see the value in it either. So, but yes, that is true.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
Thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate it greatly. And just to take a little different angle on it, I think people see where the money goes downtown. I mean, yes, you're paying tax money. Yes, there's more money involved. But I think everybody in the community, everybody in the city, all of our visitors, all the folks around see the vibrant downtown that the city has created. And obviously, that's from a lot of people doing a lot of work. But certainly the DDA is the rock, I think, that everybody kind of hangs on to to keep it all going. And I just thank you guys terrifically for what you do and how you do it, and certainly hope you will continue to do that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Coyne?
I also want to thank you and compliment the DDA. I often get the question from people both in town and out of town, why is the downtown so pretty and successful and nice? And the answer I always give them is it's because of the DDA and its administration and management. So I think that's a real key that needs to be recognized. You could have a DDA. Most towns have DDAs, and they don't have what we have.
We have an awesome director.
Yes. She's not even listening, so. Were you listening?
I was listening.
Okay.
20 years.
Okay. And that's really true. And I think I've noticed a marked change in 3rd Street since it joined in terms of the maintenance and how nice it is compared to it was just a disorganized group of people. Now there's a sense of place there, and it ought to get better with the implementation of the plans. I have two questions for you. Where is the south border? On that map I could not see. Is it
Oh, yeah, no, I
Farragut
gotta try to
Avenue? Is
get
that the
that.
south border?
Yeah.
So it is included in the DDA?
Eric Avenue is, that's correct.
Okay. And has there been any interest in Northern Michigan University having a presence in the DDA at all?
You mean in the DDA? I mean, I think
in
that,
downtown, having a presence there? There has been? Because in some other cities we visited, there, where major universities, they are present downtown. And that brings more people down, it ties students to downtown, and I just wondered, so far that hasn't happened.
yeah, I mean, I think a few years ago, we entered in quite a bit of discussion with the university as far as, traffic moving and people moving, and and wayfinding, and partnering with them. I do think that the university is a good resource and a good, they are at the other end of our district, and, probably more could be done, and maybe that's something that, we could look forward to. But yes, I know what you mean, like maybe just some kind of art gallery, student art gallery, something that, even a bookstore, an NMU bookstore downtown, maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Well,
That's a
thanks.
great idea.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Anything further, commissioners? I guess not. I'd like to thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation. Thank you for all the good work you do. The next presentation is by City Clerk Dave Liu on the Elections Board.
Mayor O'Gara, Mayor Nemi, and Commission, thank you for the opportunity to present information to you tonight on the Elections Board and its activities. This is another board that is full. It consists of Don Elzinga, Martha Fotopoulos, Crystal Swanson, Ruby Padakis. I serve as the chair, as clerk, and Chris Hazaris is our liaison. Our mission is authorized by the Charter, Section 3.10, and State Law Election Code Act 116 of 1954 as amended. This group represents the residents of the City of Marquette and, of course, the City Commission. Meets prior to elections to certify candidates for election, appoint election inspectors, and conduct public accuracy tests of the city's electronic election equipment. Our meeting schedule started this year with April 24th being the earliest time we ever gathered to certify candidates for Commission and Board of Light and Power for the 2014 elections. So from April till now, that's been pretty quiet, and then all of a sudden now we have a lot of activity with the primary coming up next week. On June 26th, the board met to appoint election inspectors for the August primary. We have about 50 people working in our 7 precincts. And July 31st, we'll meet again to conduct that public accuracy test of our election equipment. That's all of our electronic election equipment that we utilize for Election Day. On September 25th, we'll meet again to appoint election inspectors for the general election in November. And then on October 29th, we'll again conduct that public accuracy test of the city's election equipment. That has to be done for each election because each election changes and all of the data that we use in the equipment changes by election, of course. So we have to test it each time. And then on November 27th, we'll meet and set our calendar for 2015. And that's about as brief as it gets. So if you have any questions, I'd entertain those. If not, that's fine too.
Commissioner Ryan?
Could you describe the relationship with the county? Because I know they play a major role in elections
Yes.
too.
The county is the canvasser. We used to have our own canvassing board up till last year where we'd canvass our own elections. Now that's been abolished by state law, and the county clerk actually serves as the chief elections officer for the entire county, subject to the Secretary of State's office direction. We all serve the state, of course. It's the hierarchy of it. But the county plays a major role. They'll collect all the election data on election night, and they have a great. Our electronic election equipment allows us to update the information just about as soon as the polls close. Within 10 or 15 minutes of the closing, we transmit that data by telephone line to the county clerk's office, and they have that updated on their website almost instantaneously. So you're getting pretty much live reports now, where we used to wait till 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning to get our election results in, and now it's so fast that it's unreal. So we're not done with the election at that point. We have a lot of work to do afterwards in each of the precincts, but getting the counts out are, they're very fast right after the polls close at night at 8 o'clock.
As a former radio TV newsman, I remember those days very well of waiting until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So really your assignment in the election board is really putting on the election. Once the ballots are cast, it's turned over to the clerk then, the county clerk.
Yep, they'll certify the election in the city, in the city of Marquette and the entire county. Then they'll report it onto the state, and then the state board of canvassers will certify the entire election across the state.
Well, I personally do appreciate you and your board too, because our elections seem to go off very well. So
thank you.
I appreciate that.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
I just want to, I guess, mention that I think it's probably the least glamorous of all of the boards that we have, and I would argue that it perhaps is the most important of all of them. And I want to really thank the folks that work it, because the election workers that we have been truly magnificent. They're down in the trenches. It's a difficult job and a long job, and I think very often they go unrecognized. So if you have a chance, please pass on my thanks.
I'll certainly do that. Thank you.
Nothing. Thank you. Clerk Blue? The next item on the agenda is a proclamation, Higashiomi Sister City Delegation. City Clerk, would you read the proclamation, please?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Whereas the city of Marquette, Michigan, and the city of Yokkaichi, Shagi, Japan, formally became sister cities on August 13, 1979, for the purposes of developing long-term cultural and educational understandings and personal friendships. And whereas during the 2006, the city of Yokkaichi and 6 neighboring towns were consolidated to form the new city of Higashiomi, and on May 23, 2005, our sister city agreement was extended to be between the city of Marquette and the city of Higashiomi. And whereas the people of Higishiyomi have welcomed 21 formal delegations and many informal visits of Marquette area citizens and treated each to warm hospitality, and whereas the people of Marquette area have welcomed 21 formal and 5 informal delegations, 35 Northern Michigan University sister city scholars along with other guests from Higishiyomi and treated each to warm hospitality, and whereas over 3,216 citizens of our two cities have been involved as delegates, visitors, or host families since the program's inception, and whereas a Higishiyomi sister city delegation led by Higishiyomi Mayor Masakio Ogura arrives in Marquette on July 28, 2014 to enjoy our hospitality. Now therefore I, Robert Nemi, Mayor of the City of Marquette, do hereby proclaim the week of July 28, 2014 as Higishiyomi Week in the City of Marquette, and extend to the delegates of Higishiyomi the status of honorary citizens of Marquette during their visit, dated this 20th day of July 2014, and signed Robert Nemi, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. The next item is boards and committees. I have some presentations. The first is recognizing outgoing member Jorma Lankinen of the Solid Waste, Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority. Jorma, would you meet me at the dais? Try to come up and present with me. Jorma, we have a certificate of appreciation here for your volunteer efforts on the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority. We're ushering you out as a city member, and you've been ushered in as a county member. So
Yes.
It's kind of a revolving door, I guess. And we appreciate your service on behalf of the city. As I've mentioned previously, we couldn't do the city's business without the volunteer effort of our citizens. And for
Thank
that,
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Mayor Ogura, thanks you.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much. We also have some further presentations to welcome new members to the Local Development Finance Authority. Fred Taccolini, Daniel Mizuki, Robert Kuschek, Rosemary Smith, and would A.B. Manning also join us up here? She's a new member of the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority, taking Jorma's seat on the authority. We also have Lisa Kotler, who is a new member, but she was unable to attend this evening. So we have some city pins for our people. There's one for you, Fred.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
And Rosemary, we have one for you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Your
Pleasure.
pleasure.
And Dr. Kuschek, we have one for you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. Your cooperation.
Dr. Mizuki, we have one for you, and we thank you for your service.
I appreciate it.
And Amy, last but not least, we have a pin for you, and we thank you for your service.
Thank you.
The Solid Waste Management Authority certainly is an important body of the city, as is the Local Development Finance Authority. We look for exciting things with this is one more step in the furtherance of our satellite smart zone. So thank you all for your service. Okay, the next item on the agenda is appointments. We have the appointment of Leslie Hartman to the Local Development Finance Authority for a term beginning August 1st, 2014 and ending August 1st, 2015. Bradley Newman to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a term ending February 15th, 2017. And Joshua Hendrickson to the Sustainable Community Ad Hoc Committee as the Board of Light and Power Representative for a term ending September 1st, 2017. Commissioners, what is your pleasure regarding these items? Commissioner Ryan?
I move we concur with the appointments as listed by the mayor.
Thank you. A second to the motion. Commissioner Cambenzi?
Support.
Commissioner Ryan, do you have anything further?
Pleased to have these people stepping forward to fill these positions.
Commissioner Cambenzi?
Nothing further.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Ryan, seconded by Commissioner Cambenzi, to appoint Leslie Hartman to the Local Development Finance Authority, Bradley Newman to Board of Zoning Appeals, and Joshua Hendrickson to the Sustainable Community Ad Hoc Committee for the terms listed on the agenda. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed say no. The motion is passed unanimously. We've now come to the portion of the meeting, public comment. Comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and physical address when making public comments, and please make comments from the podium directly in front of the commission. Anyone who would wish to address the commission?
I'm Jonathan, everybody in Spectre Circle. This is John Bordeaux, who's at 17th Spectre. We're here representing the Heritage Neighborhood Association. Should I start over? No, okay. We're here representing the Heritage Neighborhood Association regarding the possible site selection by Duke Life Point for the construction of the new hospital. And I think you all have received an email with a letter from Earl Hahn, our co-chair, our chairman, stating our oppositions. And he's not able to be here because he's out of town for work. It is the resounding position of the neighbors that we strongly object to the selection of the south side of Grove Street of the Heritage Golf Course for the construction of a new hospital. We respectfully request that you take our resolute position into consideration as you negotiate with the hospital, and we request you to encourage Duke Life Point to remove this site from consideration. Thank you.
Questions? No, we don't entertain questions, but you may address this for 3 minutes also, if you'd like.
I just want to thank you for your service, and also, we're not against the hospital. We welcome them in our city. We just feel that this is a poor site selection, and we have many different objections, more than we have time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Good evening. I am Gordon Peterson of 2 Elder Drive.
Clerk, yeah. Yeah. You may begin, Ms. Peterson.
A conditional use permit should scientifically prove the common good. When should we issue a conditional use permit? Is there justice for business owners, or is there justice for all? We will answer these questions using our American tradition and applying it to a July 1 case before our Marquette City Planning Commission. A conditional use permit is making an exception to allow a property owner to use property in a way not permitted by the zoning code. The owners of a business, a group daycare home that operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, requested a conditional use permit in an area zoned residential. These business owners wanted personal economic gain. This position is based on justice for business owners. We wanted to live in a peaceful residential neighborhood without activities and noises from children, adults, and vehicles from this business. This position is based on justice for all. Is there justice for business owners, or is there justice for all? Justice is stated in our Founders' Constitution, legislative laws, executive regulations, and judicial decisions, including those related to our founding, civil rights movements, feminist movements, and environmental movements. These movements revealed our government evolved from our founding, in which a minimalist government subjectively used ideology to provide justice for the few wealthy white businessmen, to movements in which our activist government use scientific methodological justice and universal ethical justice to promote justice for all. Scientific methodological justice objectively uses accurate and comprehensive data with inductive reasoning to describe conditions.
You need to finish up.
It does not.
You need to finish up. You need to finish up. Your time is nearly expired. You need to complete your comments. Your time is nearly expired. Okay.
Based on justice for all, we wanted this conditional use permit denied. But based on justice for business owners, it was unanimously approved. Based on justice for all, now is the time to require scientific proof a conditional use permit provides for the common good for neighbors.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Beck, registered voter 1005 Alloway in the city of Marquette. Thank you for the opportunity to address the commission and welcome Honorable Mayor Ogura. I hope the view is refreshing and the chair is pleasant. Thank you for being here. So I just want to talk about a couple of things. It seems like we are now a little bit further away from the truck route than we ever were. It seems like last month or this month we were supposed to have a public hearing that somehow disappeared off the docket. So I don't know what's happened, if you guys have actually lost the plans. Maybe they could be found again. I went out and took a look at McClellan Avenue, and the section of the road that is going to be a truck route north of Fair is actually narrower than the section of the road that this city cannot commit to being a truck route. But it seems like with 40 years of planning for a north-south truck route, for a plan that Commissioner Stonehouse looked at as the solution to truck traffic through the city, I would hope that the City Commission can move forward quickly on designating a route so that commerce can move freely throughout Marquette County. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the LDFA. Unfortunately, a lot of the board has left, but Mr. Taccolini is still here. I had the pleasure of attending the informal work session last Friday. Mayor Nemi was there as well. It was very exciting stuff, and the chief financial officer actually admitted that he got excited about this tax plan. And you know when an accountant gets excited, you know there's big business going on. The plan is to capture about $13 million over the year of this plan, and certainly this is intended to be taken from the Local Development and Finance Authority and given to a Smart Zone corporation with what they'll do economic development. And this can all be good for the city. Let's hope it is administered dutifully and restrained. Because when you look at some of the other LDFAs around the state, you'll see that some of them have declining tax revenues to where they haven't been able to build revenue in the city. Commissioner Coyne mentioned in one of the public hearings that the good and bad comes with these things, and they do. The plan for our LDFA, from what I heard at the meeting, is still informational because the board has not been seated yet, is that they intend to capture 28.5% of the future increases in value and property taxes in the city. That's a lot of money. Dave, you asked a couple of meetings ago if there was going to be a shortfall in the taxes in the city. It is. It's a 28% reduction in the increase in growth the city will see over 15 years. So certainly let's hope the LDFA board offers some very restrained oversight on this monies. One of the LDFAs here in the state employs a lot of student workers at their corporations which they give tax subsidies to. I would think if you asked working families in Marquette if we would want to take our tax dollars, give them to a private corporation to hire students to do part-time work, that may not be the plan for economic vitality that our city would really be looking for.
Mr. Beck, you need to finish up.
Thank you. So let's hope we can provide some dutiful, strong oversight. Some of the LDFAs return their surplus money back to the city when they don't need as much. Let's hope that the Commission continues to provide dutiful oversight throughout the lifetime of that, $13 million, and the 28% reduction in future value of growth that the City Commission will not see to spend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Frank Jeff Verto, 350 East Ridge, Marquette, to speak on item 9. Welcome to the mayor of from Japan. These opinions express my love for Marquette. July 14th, Coyne offered no closing comment, choosing not to address any citizens who spoke that night. One concern was why he thinks our matter of the Lakeshore Boathouse location is the most trivial thing. A guy stood here calling my comment malarkey, yet I'd quoted Coyne and Ryan's words off the record and detailed the specifics. So perhaps the critic was referring to your quotes as malarkey, which we'd both agree on. He also accused me of disrespecting the panel prior to the meeting. I'd asked Nimi nicely why he moved a June 30th riparian corridor item to the consent agenda. His response led me to believe that he'd not realized the item involved a piece of land. Logically, I accused him of not looking at the site plan. He asked me how I could know that. The answer is on the premise that had he seen the site plan, he'd have known the item involved a piece of land just west of Clark Park. I still claim the item belonged under business where it was to begin with. Neither of us raised our voices, so this claim of disrespecting the panel is uncalled for, as is the claim of malarkey. No one can deny Angeli's June 30th words that your boathouse location isn't one his committee will be working on anymore. You've left the public in limbo between your decision and the more viable options now being pursued. How can Angeli's words not suggest that you'd erred in your vote? July 14th, Nimi mentioned the vets who said they were happy with the skate park not being built at Harlow Park, which this board approved at Harlow December 8, 2008, despite the planner's recommendations of Pine and Fair. Where were you when I opposed the northeast corner of Harlow Park? Like the boathouse, the vote was so ill-advised, the decision was reversed for you for lack of practicality. How about the 26-unit office park at Cliffs Dow and 12-story towers at Lakeshore site? Never stood a chance. And the Commons rink that's barely worthwhile. And the promised BLM land that the Coast Guard hasn't yet bestowed us for the prime lakefront acre we sacrificed. How about the trails people who told you July 14th that our residents feel, quote, trails are in the public interest and protecting Heartwood adds value. In each case, the board heard all the needed advice in a timely fashion. If this is malarkey, then let's address the specifics. You owed no respect in light of your record or for writing while I stood here waiting to speak July 14th. This explains why you told me my time was up at 2 minutes and 36 seconds, 24 seconds early. Rather than start the time once you'd finished writing and the comment began, you started it during the wait, lacking the decency to make eye contact. It's just your patented way of discreetly playing the nice guy while jabbing an adversary in the back, which doesn't entitle you to any respect.
Thank you, Mr. Verito. Anyone else wish to address the commission?
Good evening, Your Malankian, 8 Marquette Drive. Thank you for the award. It's been a pleasure serving the city since, I believe, 2001 or thereabouts. I'm looking forward to working with Amy through the county position. I've never looked at it as a city or a county. I always looked at it as a consolidation of 22 municipalities, and we're all working together, so it was never one against the other. I want to also welcome our sister city mayor. It's a pleasure to have you in our community. Just let you know, most people in our community are much nicer, not nearly as critical as the previous speaker. Welcome again to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lankinen. Anyone else wishing to address the commission? No one else wants to address the commission? We will close that portion and we will proceed to the consent agenda. Commissioners, what is your pleasure with the consent agenda? Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
I motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Okay, is there a second for that motion? Commissioner Campana?
I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Stonehouse, seconded by Commissioner Campana, that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse, anything further?
These are just routine items, Your Honor.
Okay. Commissioner Campana, anything further?
Same feelings, thank
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Stonehouse, seconded by Commissioner Campana, to approve the consent agenda items A through H. All commissioners in favor, please say yes.
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 Any commissioners opposed, please say no. The motion is passed unanimously. We'll now proceed to the new business item on the agenda, item number 9. City Clerk, do you have some background to read on this?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. This
you.
is a PUD agreement for 905 Lakeshore Boulevard. Background, the agreement for development of a plan unit development, or PUD, at 905 Lakeshore Boulevard has been prepared by the city attorney and signed by the applicants and should be reviewed by the city commission for approval. The city commission approved the PUD on May 29, 2012, after the planning commission approved the preliminary plans for the development on May 1, 2012. Approval of this agreement will begin a one-year time period in which final site plans must be submitted to the Planning Commission for approval. Once final site plans are approved, the applicant/developer will have 3 years to substantially complete the PUD. Fiscal effect, the development will create 7 taxable residential units. Recommendations, reapprove the agreement. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, what is your pleasure regarding this item? Commissioner Ryan?
I move we reapprove the agreement.
Point of order. Item 9, isn't it?
Well, yes. We'll proceed with the motion, then we'll let you speak, Mr. Barreto. I'm sorry that I missed you. If you want to speak, well, I'll let you speak.
Whatever order.
If you be quiet, I'll let you speak. You can speak after the motion as I instructed you. If you don't want that, leave. I'm sorry, Commissioner Ryan.
I move we reapprove the agreement.
Is there a second for the motion? Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
I will certainly
Thank you.
second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, Mr. Barreto, you may address us.
Frank Jeff Verito, 350 East Ridge, Marquette. These are my opinions, and that last exchange was absolutely uncalled for. You know, he's yelling at me for his forgetfulness, and I was sitting politely in the audience waiting to make the comment.
Yes, Commissioner Coyne.
It's odd the PUD agreement is on tonight's...
Mr. Barreto, a point of order has been called.
I think he's out of order saying what he just did. He's to talk about this agenda item, not berate you.
Yes, I agree, Mr. Barreto.
Okay. Yeah, but this is on
Please
this
stick.
agenda
Please
item.
stick to the agenda item.
This is the agenda item, though. That what
Yes.
has just happened between us
Please
is
stick
on
to
the
it.
agenda item.
Please stick to it without any
Okay.
editorial
It's odd
comments.
the PUD agreement is on tonight's agenda while all the underground infrastructure is already on site. 3 years in a row, I've dedicated weekend nights writing comments for a project that I'd rather not see, all to make the same few points that neither the proponents nor the commission will address. Generally, the design and density conform to the site. However, there are the concerns of outdoor lighting, excessive height, and landscaping along the east border. The proponents, nice as they are, have made no effort to respect the recommended 30-foot height limit. Back in the 70s, officials on Longboat Key, Florida, had already realized the necessity and instituted their 35-foot legislation. How long does it take information to reach this board? We know at least 35 years. I found no mention of the height in the planning minutes, and the last 2 times this item came before you, no one cared. That's why we need to ignore you and appeal to the owners. The uppermost 3 feet of the northernmost building doesn't look to have a useful purpose from either functional or cosmetic standpoints. It looks like a false roof as seen on the perspective drawing. The 6 peaks might be harder to lower a foot or 2, but other municipalities manage to construct 3-story buildings within the limit. Of course, the proponents are unlikely to reply because you don't care and you're not going to ask. So I'm asking them, why is that boxy attic space so necessary on the north building? Of worse concern than the height on this particular site is the absence of natural landscaping between the townhouses and the boulevard. A planning commissioner suggested a hedge or plantings instead of the white picket fence. Such a fence does not blend into the lakeshore as the proponent claimed, but gives the effect of separation, a brash urban contrast to the adjacent lakeshore. White picket fences might appear inviting to residents, but not those of us who've enjoyed Marquette's public lakeshore for years. This is a repeat scenario of the white picket fences in front of the birdhouses opposite Lower Harbor Park. Lakeshore users despise the fences so much they came down. The effect would even be worse at Lakeshore Boulevard and Crescent with such minimal setback. The absence of natural landscaping will only exacerbate any light coming from the structure. Additionally, the townhouses could lead to future proposals to light the boulevard or to trim trees along the shoreline. You people have got to learn the importance of buffer zones and the need for natural transitions from our showcase park to the adjacent neighborhood. This applies to all projects, probably even in Japan. There's no doubt tonight's proponents are nice people, and I'd like to see their project succeed if they just make a few minor changes to minimize their unavoidable impact to our priceless lakeshore experience.
Thank you, Mr. Barito. Commissioners, we have a motion on the floor. It's moved by Commissioner Ryan, second by Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse to approve the extension of the PUD agreement. Any further discussion, Commissioner Ryan?
Yes, I just want to say, first of all, we basically approved this 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's time to move forward. Secondly, you know, we're talking about a piece of property that was for a number of years commercial property and then kind of sat idle and now sat vacant. And, you know, I think this will be a positive development for that area. Also, for the benefit of citizens who, you know, don't go on the internet and look at the agenda we receive, this was the subject of extensive discussion by the Planning Commission. They talked about a number of issues that they were interested in as they move forward, and the Planning Commission approved moving ahead with the project. So I think it'll be an interesting piece of property on our Lakeshore Boulevard.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse, anything?
I think Commissioner Ryan said it all and said it very well. We are, in effect, just really providing an extension of this agreement. It's already been approved, and I think it's a good one. And I was happy with it when it originally came in front of us, and I'm even more happy with it now. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse. Any other commissioners? Any comments? Hearing none. It's been moved by Commissioner Ryan, seconded by Commissioner Stonehouse, that we approve extension of the PUD agreement for 905 Lakeshore Boulevard. All commissioners in favor say yes.
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 Any commissioners opposed say no. The motion is approved. So, did we make a error? Or? That's okay.
Hello, Chris Zenti and my husband Dan Emmendorf and I are the ones that submitted the PUD. I guess I just wanted, maybe I haven't understood something, but we were, I don't think we've asked you to extend it, but just to approve the contract for it. And that, I just wanted to make that clarification.
Okay.
To approve the contract, not extend it. We might ask for that another day.
Is the contract extended?
Contract is.
Yeah, this is, we rewrote the contract because it wasn't acted upon the first time. So it's a brand new contract. It's not really being extended.
We might ask for that on another time, but thank you.
Okay.
I might also point out we haven't started development on it. We're just letting people use the property at no cost.
Did we vote on this? We voted?
Yes, we did.
Okay, we're moving forward. Bids for Carp River Sanitary Sewer Crossings Project, a rebid. City Clerk, do you have some background information on this?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The bridge that crosses the Carp River that was previously used for pedestrian, bike, and snowmobile traffic was closed last year by MDOT because it was determined to be unsafe, and the traffic has been permanently routed to the newly reconstructed railroad structure that spans the Carp River. A city transmission sanitary sewer main is currently attached to the unsafe bridge structure and must be removed. Another existing transmission main currently spans the Carp River by aerial means and is supported by columns on each side of the river with concrete pipe. A recent inspection of that main has shown that the pipe is in poor condition, with several of the joints losing their structural integrity, and both mains were programmed in the capital improvement budgets to remedy these issues. This project had an original bid opening on June 19th, 2014. Two contractors responded to our request for bids. Both of these bids came in over budget, and the City Commission unanimously voted at their June 9th meeting to rebid the project in anticipation of obtaining lower bid costs. The rebids for the project were open on July 17th, 2014. Two contractors responded to our request for bids. The average total bid cost came down, but the low bid was slightly higher. The results are summarized as follows. The vendor, first, the engineer's estimate was $500,470.50. Hebert Construction Company was the low bid at $696,600.52, and Primo Construction Incorporated bid $749,986.50. Tabulating and checking of the bids found no errors on the contractor's bids. There is no advantage to bidding the project out next year due to the unanticipated high cost for bypass pumping, which is a specialty item of work. Fiscal effect: the Carp River Sanitary Sewer Crossing project is a priority in the capital improvement plan, and was approved by the under the FY 13-14 budget. The bids have exceeded the approved budget amount from the FY 13-14 budget. However, there are funds available from obtaining lower bids on other projects that will be used to cover this project cost increase. If approved, this project will be part of the FY 13-14 bond package. Recommendation: award a contract for the Carp River Sanitary Sewer Crossings project to Hebert Construction Company in the amount of $696,600.53 based on the quantities and unit prices bid. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, what is your desires regarding this project? Commissioner Ryan?
I move we award a contract for the Carp River Sanitary Sewer Crossing Project to Herbert Construction Company in the amount of $695,600.53 based on the quantities and unit prices bid.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Coyne?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Ryan, is anything further to?
You know, I think this is one of those rare cases when our engineering department came up with an initial estimate that was under the expected actual cost. But you know, that's bound to happen sometimes. You can't bat 100% on this, and they do a terrific job. And oftentimes, their estimates are slightly higher than the bids we get. So, you know, we often come in with bids that are lower. I think the key thing is this is work that must be done, and this is the time to get it done, and this is certainly the best bid we're going to get, so we should move ahead.
Okay. Commissioner Coyne, anything?
Well, I agree with Commissioner Ryan's comments, and I can just imagine the disaster would happen if it didn't get fixed, so it's got to be done.
Thank you. Any other commissioners, any comments? Hearing none, it's been moved by Commissioner Ryan, seconded by Commissioner Coyne, to award a contract for the Carp River Sanitary Sewer Crossings project to Hebert Construction Company in the amount of $696,600.53 based on the quantities and unit prices bid. All in favor of the motion say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Anyone opposed to the motion say no. The motion passes unanimously. We've now completed the business portion of our agenda, and we are now at Commissioner comments. We will start to my left to Commissioner Kambenzi.
Thank you. I too would like to welcome the mayor of Higoshiyomi, Mayor Agura. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I look forward to meeting the delegation tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. at our library, main floor. I'd also like to thank the MAP superintendent for being here, giving us a crash course on the sinking fund and the difference between this bond and the last bond. The only other comment I have is to say best luck to all the candidates. There was a great candidate forum here in the city chambers that I attended, as well as several of my fellow commissioners, and it was interesting, and it's going to be an interesting race to watch. So I do encourage everyone to get out and vote. And again, best luck to all the candidates running. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cambenzi. Commissioner Campana.
Again, I'd like to thank the mayor of Higashiomi for showing up. I'm sure you're very tired after your long trip, but we're glad you're here. I look forward to seeing the rest of the delegation tomorrow. That should be very, very interesting. And next, I just also would like to thank the 40 Below group for putting on the candidate forum debate Thursday night. It was well attended, as Sarah says, and it's really a good way to get to meet and to know and to understand the candidates for the different positions. It was very informative. It's definitely worth going to. You won't get to know the candidates any better than attending the forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Campana. Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse.
Yeah, a couple things, if I may, Your Honor. First of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming. It's interesting to speculate that we are half a world apart, and yet we still face so many of the same challenges. And I think we have much to learn from each other. Thanks to the 40 Below Club, that was a great forum they put on, and the rebroadcast of that on Channel 21 I think is going to be great for everybody to get an appreciation for the candidates that are running. And I'm very enthusiastic that they were able to do that. Did have a chance last week to take some of the Great Lakes Commission folks around the harbor, give them a short harbor tour, what Marquette is doing and how we did it. They are, it's fair to say, in love with Marquette. What we've done, and the harbor, not only as a separate place, but how it ties into the downtown and how it ties into the DDA is really, I think, what they find most fascinating, how you're able to link those things. And it really is to the city's benefit to have these relationships with groups like the Great Lakes Commission. They're powerful. They can be a real ally, especially for grant funding opportunities. So, again, just very, very nice to have them in the city. I would point out, too, and thank the good folks at the Lake Superior Art Association for doing another great Art on the Rocks. Even though it got a little bit damp, I think, on Sunday, it was a great affair. And thanks, too, to the folks at the Outback, because that really acts as a very nice counterpoint, I think, to the Art Association show. Lastly, you know, every commission meeting we always have some presentations from some of the appointed bodies. And those are really interesting. They're interesting for the folks on the commission because we get a kind of a good report back of what they're doing. But I think it's more interesting and more important for the public to see them, because that gives the public an appreciation for what are these groups doing, how does the city actually run, and hopefully maybe entice some of them to step forward and join those committees and those organizations. Again, very valuable information, and I'm especially glad that we've been doing it. Your Honor.
Thank you, Commissioner Stonehouse. Commissioner Ryan.
I guess I would like to take time to urge people to get out to vote on August 5th. It is an important election, and although it's just a primary as far as the city commission goes, it will set up the 6 candidates who will be running, and I think it will actually be the determining election for some of the county commission candidates. So I think it's very important to get out and cast your ballot. And I again would like to say, as I said earlier, I think the Marquette Public Schools have made their case. I think what they're asking for is reasonable. And I personally, speaking as an individual, not for this commission, would support their effort in the seeking the sinking fund millage. I think they've come up with a plan to use the buildings we have, but we've got to put some money into maintenance and keeping them up and safety and security and the things as outlined by the superintendent. So I do hope people will give that their careful consideration and find their way to be able to support it. I think that's it for tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Coyne.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I would like to, again, on behalf of everyone in the community, to welcome you and thank you for coming. We've had a long tradition of visitors from your city, and I think we've benefited. Some ways that are most impressive are the over 30 students who have attended Northern Michigan University, who have represented your city wonderfully and have often come back here, and we thank you for sharing them with us, and it's very a very nice benefit of the city exchange. I think also one of the things that I think we profit by is your culture of courtesy to others. I feel often embarrassed by sometimes how we treat each other in the United States, and you have a long tradition of respect, and thank you for sharing that with us, so appreciate. Thank you. I have a couple of things. I'd like to start with one, asking the city attorney. Mr. Attorney, can a citizen in the audience burst out with a point of order? Is that appropriate?
Of course not. A point of order is for the commission to raise. I think our rules are pretty clear about disrespect and courteous participation by the audience. I mean, it's right in our rules.
Thank you. I think, and I would ask the Sergeant at Arms, if a person does an outburst of discourtesy like that in the future, is it reasonable to rule that that person is out of order?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes. The city attorney just stated that for a person in the audience to shout out point of order and then start yelling, is that appropriate as a sergeant at arms?
I personally don't believe it is.
Thank you. I'd like that on the record for the future behavior. I think also commenting on complaining about the time. I noticed tonight the people who came and spoke did not stand there and demand eye contact from every single commissioner and then start waiting. I think the commission should have a clock like the 40 Below had, indicating 1 minute if you're going to talk, and then to give the person a warning. And in this instance, it would be 3 minutes. You stand up there, and when you stand and state your name or stand there, the clock runs, and not have this constant battering about, you're not looking at me, you're writing, etc. I think that's helpful to have a clock. In public comments where I've had to limit my comments to 3 minutes, it's very difficult to know when your 3 minutes are up. And tonight we saw individuals who genuinely tried to get it in, and I think it's helpful when you're giving it to notice that you have 30 seconds left. So I think that's not an unfair thing to have for people giving citizen comment. I'd also like to comment on Mr. Peterson's, I'd like to ask a question about Mr. Peterson's question about the conditional use permit. What happens when that conditional permit, he's asking for that to be raised again. How can that happen, Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, I've spoken with our Director of Community Development about it. I know our city planner has shared our appeals process with Mr. Peterson, and it's at this point up to his discretion to decide if he wants to pursue it or not.
Okay. At another time, could the community development person share that with us also?
Absolutely. I'll be glad to forward that message.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Peterson, for doing that. I'd also like to correct Mr. Beck's comments of the 28% reduction in taxes overall. Mr. Manager, is that a true statement?
At this point, Your Honor, it's not been recommended yet by the LDFA. Mr. Beck mentioned that they haven't officially been seated. The Commission authorized them to begin their deliberation as of August 1st. So we're waiting to hear what their final recommendation on the TIF capture is going to be.
Thank you. Also, I did not attend the whole 40 Below, but I went home and watched it on television. And I think on there is a website that candidate forum is available for people to watch. And before deciding to vote, they ought to go watch that if they weren't here. And there were probably 60 or 70 people here, but there's thousands of voters. And if they have questions, they should look at that and see and judge accordingly on the answers and so forth. And just a comment about the public school issue. This is perhaps a very poor analogy, but I think it's as important as the sewer thing we just voted on, to get the sewer from across the Carp River to the sewage treatment plant, and to vote against that doesn't make any sense, nor does it make any sense to not support this issue, because to vote against it is, you can't function without that money to proceed rather. So I also urge very much support of that. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne. Commissioner O'Gura, would you like to make any closing comments? Or?
Yes, thank you so much for your cooperation. Thank you so much for your cooperation. I deeply appreciate your students, every students. So I'd like to continue to this kind of sister cities in future. And we are also very useful to. I feel this exchange program is very, very useful to understanding and United States culture and the Japanese culture. Okay, so please give me the cooperation in future. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor O'Gura. I'd like to thank you for gracing us with your presence, and I certainly appreciate having another presider here this evening. I too would like to give kudos to the 40 Below. It was a very professionally presented forum. I thank the candidates too. It takes a lot to run for office, and as Commissioner Coyne alluded to, the video is available on the 40 Below website. 40 Below is the numerals 40 and then the word below, and I believe it's www.40below.org or .com. You could search it on any search engine, and it'll come up if you put in Marquette. Also, I'd like to encourage people to vote on August 5th. It's the primary election. There's a lot of important questions to be decided. A lot of candidates running against each other. There has to be decisions made, and I would also lend my appreciation for the school millage. I think it's the right way for the schools to go. I personally will support it. It's up to each voter to decide what in their heart what they feel they need to do. But I think the important thing is for people to get out and participate in our electoral process. So that's August 5th, the primary. City Manager, do you have any comments?
Nothing further this evening, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we're adjourned.